Oh man.
Oh wait, Jordan's gonna sign on in a minute too. Let me where is he? uh he should be on. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, dude. Wait,
They're the guys.
here I am. Hey, dude.
Yeah, glad you can
Dude.
glad we can all do this, guys.
Yeah, dude. Long time no see. How's the last 10 plus years of your life been?
Ah.
Here,
Well
start
now
from
I'm in Tampa. I mean
really?
yeah, we moved, we relocated. Now we're in Tampa,
Cool.
and it's a change of weather. It's hard to believe, but the weather still changes here. So yeah.
From hot to
Um,
hotter.
So no,
yeah,
so basically you go from your coldest day of the year is like 50, like 7 degrees. And
yeah, and the ironic thing is you still feel like a change because
yeah.
there's like times where I haven't gotten sick in like 2 years, and then like the moment it happens, boom, I'm out. It's just
Oh.
it, man. But I'm
Yeah,
glad,
the seasonal changes
I'm
here.
glad like eventually it all like syncs up and like
Do you like Tampa? I've
uh I'm getting used to it. It's almost like being in like this eternal void of summer where there's like very like minute changes, but you know, just here and there, and still writing music but nothing recorded yet, and still like collecting like a whole gangload of music from around the world, as you know.
Sick.
But it's all good. I'm glad to interview you guys. I've always said like this is like a full circle moment.
it's amazing. How long who's call how long have you known Tom George?
Um, I started working with him, I think, back when I joined Music Existence, like the first year I was there. He started like passing bands along with me, and I guess that would be my first question. How did you guys link up with Tom George?
He found us online when we put out. I don't know which single he heard first. This music blog, this is called Banded PR. They write up about us a lot, and he found us on there, and he just reached out to us about offering PR services. But at that point, we were just doing it all by ourselves, and we were like, thank you. But he was a really swell guy, and I really like and then he introduced us to, but even though we didn't do business together then, he introduced us to our booking agent Andrew from TKO, and we stayed in touch, and then we kind of realized, hey, we hit a wall, and with doing our own publicity, let's start getting in a professional. And he's just been
Yeah, probably they should have done that from the beginning.
and
He's really good.
we've just become fast friends. Like, he's great to work with, but he's also just such a good dude.
Yeah.
It's really amazing that he really is the guy for the job. Like his passion for everything and what he does is like totally unmatched.
Yeah,
Oh
And like
yeah,
what
I
better
agree.
guys to work with than you two?
and he has the same superpower of being able to talk on the phone for a long time like me, so we could just talk forever. And he's quick. He's a fast emailer. It's such a good fit. Like, he knows the music. He's worked with other bands in our, like, Joyous Wolf, and it's a great fit. Well, this is the first of many we're going to be doing with Tom.
That's
Working.
awesome, man. I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys are sticking to it. So in general, you guys are like as uh, as as long as I've known you, you've been into like so many different bands, from King's X to Temple of the Dog to all kinds of hair metal, all kinds of 70s rock. When you guys were growing up, what was your musical environment like, and how did that shape the musicianship of you two?
You know, dad was just our dad was just like a from the era that like bands like Zeppelin, The Who, the all like he was from that era. He was in that time. He was
in
going to the
bands.
shows.
He went to Woodstock. You know, he introduced us to a lot of that early late '60s classic rock that was the first thing. The Cream, Hendrix, and then from there we just became junkies for the stuff and started getting into '70s and '80s and then we started playing music. We saw our first concert, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then we got really into the playing, and we got into jazz and fusion music, and started studying with teachers in New York.
Yeah, and also going back to like how we grew up, like because aside from that, like at the same time that was all a thing, uh, we don't come from like a family of like long line of musicians or anything, but the music bug definitely hit the Steinberg home because like everybody was passionate about music, what they listened to. Music was always instilled to us as something important, even long before we picked up instruments or anything like that. So karaoke was a big thing in the house. Eventually, our older brother Zach picked up the guitar. Our aunt and our cousin were in the house, and they both played some guitar too. It became like suddenly, even though we're not from like this, like it's not like our grandma played piano a little bit, but she wasn't really like we're not from like some long.
But everyone valued it and
respected. But everybody, music was important, and everybody picked up music, and we really picked up music. Like it became our whole lives very instantly. There was no like talk about this. There was no like we're gonna do this forever. We're going to do. It just became very. All of a sudden the video games were gone and which they would make a return, but much later. But all of a sudden the video games were gone, and it was just all about music. Yeah. Hulk Hogan became replaced by Tony Iommi. Like wrestling was gone, video games were gone, all the things that we cared about, that we loved, that we nerd about. Like once we made that plunge where we actually had instruments, music became one of our things that we loved to the thing very instantly. And I think
essentially it moved from just being a way to casually spend your time from like kind of not a misplaced distraction, but kind of like a temporary distraction to something you could really commit yourself to in a big way.
Years before we picked up instruments, I used to just like fall asleep blasting like Ozzy Osbourne records, and
same with Jimi Hendrix and Guns N' Roses, and I just dream about being on stage. I didn't ever think it was possible. It wasn't until we saw, I think, a combination of our brother picking up guitar and then us going to our first concert, and it just felt weirdly real. I'm like, oh, we can't. And I was like, I have to play it. I would dream of playing music, but I never thought to ask. And then seeing my first concert, I'm like, I need to play guitar. I asked my dad for a guitar and got us both guitars a few months after Jordan switched to bass. And I think it got real to our parents. This is what we were going to do with our lives. Is when we were 14, we played in a band with our bus driver. We played CBGBs like right before it closed down. And I think our parents seeing us do that, they're like, oh, this is what they want. This is what they're going to do. This is the thing.
What kinship, like what connection, like your bus driver, like coincidentally was from that CBT.
We had hair down to our asses, and we were 14, and he just realized these kids love rock music, so he would just start giving us every time he wasn't even our full-time, but he was our substitute bus driver.
When he knew he was going to be our bus driver, he would show up with like bags full of burnt CDs. So from
Thin Lizzy, like Stooges, Gary Moore, Rainbow.
Like
those old like CD booklets.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had the booklet, but he showed like look, imagine like a Ziploc bag full of freaking burnt CDs.
Yeah, he was giving
like with a marker, the name of the album on it, and so I had a booklet just full of those. I did not pay for most of my music. I'm sorry, guys.
It was like everything from UFO to like Joy Division. It was just CD, like everything.
Like I think there was King Diamond, but there was also like I don't know, like there was everything.
Y&T,
King Diamond, or no, not even King Diamond. Merciful Fate.
Yeah, yeah. And he
Like,
just he was so that's like our dad loved like the late '60s rock, early set, and then it was people like Hit Ray and other people like that started getting us into like mid '70s and '80s, and we're also all kids of the VH1 classic stuff, and that was constantly
we were
would watch
glued
it
to it. We
all.
used to watch music videos all freaking day. We were basically freaking Beavis and Butthead.
Oh man.
Whoa.
So
That's cool. That's
critique
pretty
the
cool.
music, but also appreciate it in a big way.
This guy's
Yeah. And then when we were like 15 years old, we realized like, when our parents realized that we were serious about this, they're like, our mom wanted us we decided we needed to learn like how to play jazz music, and that so we started, and I don't think I ever became a great jazz musician, but through those lessons I learned my theory, I learned how to read music, I learned a lot, I started putting extra, like just more extra stuff in the music, I got really into fusion. But it was always, I think singing kept us, getting into singing kept us really passionate about rock music. That was
Oh,
always
cool. Like, so that transition from I guess rock to jazz and then back again, did you find
Well,
it
I'm never going to
seamless?
say that we fully made that
we
transition.
never fully
We were always
embraced
rock.
jazz.
We were always rock
It's just
kids.
like notes of it, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
like we were
just,
always rock kids that had jazz instructors that tried their best.
I,
And-
I say, like, because people like, we were opening up for Jared James Nichols the other day on Monday, and his bass player said to me, "Oh, you sound like you're playing. It sounds like Steely Dan." I'm like, well, or Jared's like, "Oh, did you?" And I like, I'm a rock guitar player that reluctantly took jazz guitar lessons and retained about 25% of it.
part of me wishes I could take those at my age now. It's I'd appreciate it so much more. But we did learn a lot from it, and we learned enough that we learned enough to build on those skills as we got older, and I'm still very thankful that I really do wish that I took them more seriously, but it helped, and it definitely seeped in, and I really appreciate that music even more now than when I had the privilege of taking with those brilliant musicians. But that was a big influence.
But when we all knew each other in class, we were super into like King's X, and I loved Temple of the Dog. You're right, I loved all that stuff.
You have a good freaking memory. I was like, wow, you nailed the moment. Like,
I think Jake, what
how many
made us
freaking musicians have you talked to and you remember that?
well, and Jake, I think because we used to like sing Dogman to each other at choir, and I think I remember, and I think
Dogman.
Yeah, give me a. Yo, we met Jerry Gaskill we went and saw Ghost a few months ago, and he was at the concert, even with the mask on. I'm like, "Are you from King's X?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like,
I knew that when we ran into him, you spotted him with a mask on.
"Yeah." I'm like,
and you still knew it was him.
I knew it was him.
You're a huge dork. You're a dork.
I'm a total dork. But what's amazing, I think what made me vibe with you, Jake, is that you're like us. You're just a music junkie. It's not, you don't like, you might have your types you like, but you like it all.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what's so cool about.
I guess that's what keeps it going. Like,
yeah.
I just kind of go with it, and even if it's something that I'm not used to, I'm like saying like, well, that's how they're vibing, so I'm gonna at least like put my biases aside, don't let my feelings get in the way, and just look at it like piece by piece.
I'm very much like, I definitely, I don't believe no one likes everything. I don't believe that, but I'm open to hearing anything, and I think there's good and bad of every type of music.
I'm highly skeptical of somebody's intelligence if they are very quick to write off a whole genre of music as shit. Like, even if it's not my personal thing, even if it's not a thing that I gravitate towards, if you're gonna write off a whole genre as crap, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's really cool. So you guys have been in many bands throughout the years as like a twin kind of entity, but separately too. And as far as like that separation goes, was there like a time in your life where you parted ways with each other and sort of found your own styles, or did you
No,
just stick together through and through?
like
No.
no, but you know,
But
we were professional musicians, so there is times where he'll get hired for something that I'm not part of, or I will, and I do think, but it's always like we have our band and that's our main thing. But like, you know, Jordan, it's like, but you know, he played with Mark Stein and Vanilla Fudge, and I wasn't part of that, and I think it's great because he can take what he learned from that and bring it to what we do.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah.
yeah.
there's never been a main like our main musical project has been with the two of us with various other members, but it's always the two of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, like
That's cool that you guys stuck together. And I asked that because, as identical twins, myself and my brother, like we went our separate ways musically. Like he went with the whole electronic thing, and I stuck with like the rock thing. But it's the importance is the bond keeps you guys together in a way.
Yeah, and I think what's so cool is we like all the same music, but there's definitely times where he might be more into like metal and I'm more into blues, or he might be more into soul music and I'm more into metal, you know? And there's like but we like a lot we just I don't know what it is. It's just like we like we're brothers, we fight, we butt heads, but we just find all the same things funny. We find all the same music appealing. We were born with this. We're twins with. We have the same face and the same taste.
Yeah,
you know, like,
yeah.
there never was like, I do feel like if we never like actively tried to like stick together and do the same things, but I never really wanted to go form a band without Taylor. I have a lot of joke bands that never write songs. They just have names that with various friends, and they all have a theme of Taylor not being allowed in the band. like my buddy Jeff, my buddy Jeffrey Heckler. We have Jeffrey Heckler in the Platinum Funk Band. I'm the whole Platinum Funk Band. And our first album that's been, I don't know, supposed to come out since high school. It is called Taylor Can't Be in the Band.
So is that like a running joke, like part of the running joke, at least the album not coming
that
out?
Taylor can't be in any of these side projects. I'm kind of like, if you've seen Metalocalypse, right?
Yeah.
I kind of started like, Planet Piss, it's my solo project, that nothing ever comes from,
We just always see eye to eye creatively, and that's what keeps it together. Obviously, we're best friends and we're brothers.
Does it like surprise you how like often you see eye to eye musically or otherwise?
It's kind of like it's not really, and to be honest, it doesn't really surprise me. I feel when I think about it, like when I try to like stop and think about it and go a little bit like beyond myself and think about other people, I guess it is pretty special.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like the most stressful thing is just like getting people on the same fucking page. Like, oh my freaking God. And
That's the hardest part about keeping a band.
Taylor and I, have a really good ability to like, if we'll both have an idea about a song and we'll both be pretty adamant about it, but if we record both versions like on a voice memo just to hear it back, we're gonna we're gonna agree on what the better one is, and the main reason why we're even the Moon City Masters is not because we didn't like playing with other people. It's just that we're so on the same page that we just got really tired of trying to get people on that page,
or compromising with other people.
And we don't want to compromise. And someone can say, oh, well, that's bad. I get it. That's like, we're not saying that, we wanted to do our thing. And I learned how to play.
If you have a project and you have your own band and you write your songs and you want me to play guitar, I'll play guitar the way you want me to play guitar. But
same here.
Yes, but and I'll sing the way you want me to sing if I can do it, But when it comes to just writing our own songs and having our vision, I don't want to compromise. This is a hard industry to make it in. I don't want to like be in the trenches trying to make it with music I don't fully believe in.
Mm-hmm.
If you want me to play in your band and be a hired gun, and I'll play exactly what you want me to play and how, and I'll do it and I'll enjoy
Right.
every second of it. But when we're writing our music, it truly has to be our music.
Right. So speaking of that, and transitioning into Moon City Masters, that project came together in 2019. Is that right? How did that come
Is that
about?
right?
Yeah,
Taylor,
Yeah.
late the EP came out. The EP came out 2019. Yeah, 2019. We were just recently, the year before, our last band with other members broke up, and it came to that conclusion, like, well, you and I are always on the same page. Maybe we don't need a band of 3, 4, 5, members. You and I are on the same page, and let's finally have a band where it's just you and I writing it. We're not having to consider someone, like,
You
obviously
don't have to waste your time with all the political bullshit, like
Yeah,
throwing
yeah.
in someone's song idea to make them happy, throwing in like when we and that's really it. We just really wanted to be uncompromising. I think Gene Simmons, I think I quoted this in like another interview too, or misquoted, I don't know. But the sentiment
Oh,
was
Jordan, I'll tell you where that came from. Bob Held asked our friend of ours, who's a great producer named Bob Held, and who we used to write songs with. He's friends with Paul Stanley of Kiss, and he asked Paul Stanley how Kiss made it, because he's like, and he said it was 4 guys all on the same page. And at the beginning, the first 10 years, everyone agreed they were all on the same page. And Jordan and I looked at each other like, two of us are on the same page. So
I'm gonna call it now.
So let's keep it the 2 of us. And obviously we found a producer, our producer Justin Craig, who's amazing, and we want someone to help us weed out the bad stuff. But like, we know what style of music we want to play. We just want to write the music we always wanted to hear. That was it. Now we have a drummer that we use live and in the studio, but it's really like it's Jordan and I's direction. And every other band, it would have some of that, but it was always someone else trying to compromise, and we had to use their riffs too, and it just, that it wasn't fun for us, and we felt like it was diluting our vision.
Yeah.
So as far as like getting Moon City Masters off the ground in 2019, of course we know 2020 was complete bullshit.
It was hard.
Yeah.
What was going on? Like, I guess not just that year, but like the year after that. How were you guys sort of like germinating as a band?
We, like we always do, we're just jamming and writing songs. And Jordan, I'm sorry if I'm taking it. We were just jamming and writing songs, and we just, at first we weren't even going to be called a band. We were just going to be Jordan and Taylor and put these songs out. And then we realized, and then our older brother Adam told us that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible name, especially because I don't spell Taylor with the Y, so it's confusing to people. And he's like, you guys are the Moon City Masters. We're like, what's the Moon City? He's like, you guys are these, there was some pot involved, and we were just, and a joint involved, and he's like, you guys are these twins that sing high and shred. It'll be hilarious. People just will want to stick around and hear what you all sound like if a band called the Moon City Masters is introduced. And we didn't really have an argument, and we liked it, and
Legally use it.
yeah, we just had that EP. We just had those songs lying around, and my partner Maris, she's like, you should use Justin. And Justin's who's now my brother-in-law. He was a Broadway musical director, and I was like, he agreed to it. He liked the songs, and we made an EP. We put it out, and then 2 months later, the world shut down.
Oh shit! Well, you made it in a way.
Yeah, we were just playing clubs, and we were doing duo gigs, playing clubs, did a couple festivals, and then all of our gigs got canceled for that summer, and we were pretty miserable. And then but luckily we had Justin, and Justin has a studio, and we were still writing a lot, and we just, during the lockdown of the pandemic, we were just writing and recording, and we got a really good release strategy, and we started creating more of a buzz during that time than we did before COVID.
That's ironic, but it helps, like, when you just constantly keep not only the creativity going, but the promotion going in the same way.
Yeah, sometimes you got to focus on what you can do and not what you can't do. And we focused on really just making the best music we can, promoting it online, and it's so funny with no gigs, we built a bigger fan base than we were when we were gigging, and now our gigging opportunities are a lot better. You know, we just opened up for Jared, James Nichols. We're opening up for Joyous Wolf. We've opened up for Robbie Krieger. We're going to LA next week to go do Joyous Wolf and Of Limbo. And then at the end of November, we're touring Europe for 3.5 weeks. Those are opportunities we wouldn't have been able to get. Opened up for Sheila E. We wouldn't have been able to get those opportunities before the pandemic.
Yeah.
We were just
Yeah.
we were just dudes playing free shows at Rockwood Music Hall in front of 30 people.
Yeah, you know, I really wish that it didn't have to come on the backs of like millions of suffering, but the of people suffering. But you know, the pandemic allowed us to have some time to actually like think about this band like a business, like really spend the time every day, you know, when you don't have to go out and work like 6 days a week, like every day. It gives you some time to actually think about like how are you promoting your music, and it was really beneficial, you know.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of incredibly talented people that just they think play my shows, put my music on Spotify or Bandcamp, and that's it. And and if it's good, it'll succeed. No, there's a lot of great, and we're still working on how to get our music out there and being
Yeah.
better about getting visibility. But you know what? There's a lot of people that are incredibly talented that refuse to learn about promotion and using these things as tools to get yourself out there. They don't want they just rather think, hey, I'm just gonna go play enough bars and someone will discover me and I'll be on tour with Greta Van Fleet, and it just doesn't work like that.
Nope.
Yeah.
There's a lot of incredibly talented people. You gotta learn how to treat this like you be an
You
artist.
got to actively be working to get people to see, just to know who you are, to listen to your music, to find your page, to, you know, that's a job in itself.
Like still to this day when we play shows, we don't just rely on like doing a social media post. Well, I'll do the social media post. You know what? Jordan's DMing. We're DMing.
Oh, I DM everybody. I've probably DM'd you.
Hundreds of people.
I probably DM'd you.
When we have a song come out, we DM hundreds of people. Please listen to our song. You have to be shameless. If you truly believe in, and I'll say this, other bands that we were in, I was afraid. I didn't like to promote. I didn't like to DM people. I'm so proud of what we do. I'll shamelessly promote and spam people because
Also, I feel like I sometimes I tell this to people. People will be nicer than you think. You never know who's rooting for you. You never know what person you didn't even talk to in high school is happy to see you doing well.
Oh
And
shit. Well,
and
hence us. Hence
Yeah,
us.
if you go on Twitter, the world seems like a divided, evil place. But
people aren't that mean.
people are a lot
I really
nicer
wish
than
that
they
people
come off.
didn't talk to each other like that asshole that cut you off in the car, you know, like.
Well,
you know,
I always say social media, especially with the politics and stuff, social media is like road rage. You know,
God, it
people
is.
say things to each other on there that they would never say to someone in person. You know,
Yeah, so it's like people, you know, people will be nicer, man. Like I used to be really embarrassed about posting about music, probably because I didn't really love what I was doing before we were this band, but that probably had something to do with it. But I get it. It's hard to get yourself out of that comfort zone of like, you know, I don't want to come off like a shameless self-promoter. I don't want to come to see it, but like, dude, people, you gotta do it, or no one's gonna hear you.
yeah, no one.
Yeah.
That's a huge lesson we learned. No one's going to advocate for yourself, for you like you do. And so that's like the biggest thing. So even with no shows, we really took that, learned it, and we're still working on it, but it made more people care about our music. We get played. We're played now on one of the biggest radio stations in Brazil. We just did an interview for a big radio station in India, and it's like we still have such a mountain to climb in terms of making it, but I'm really grateful for that time that we got to focus on really learning how to promote and focus on our artistry.
Yeah, and you know, as you know, I'll reiterate what you said. There's still a huge mountain to climb. We have not made it by our standards yet. I'm not even gonna but we have fans, and to get people from everywhere in the like all sorts of crazy places in the world messaging you that your music means something to them, is insane. It's an insane feeling that I'm so grateful for. I really am.
That's
I'm
really
really
cool. Now, if you can bring it back a bit, you were mentioning Justin. Is that Justin Craig?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me a little bit about meeting him and getting rolling with production because
All
the
you,
way your
Taylor. All
music
you.
So
sounds.
Justin is he's as of May, Justin Craig is my brother-in-law, but he's my wife's brother-in-law first.
Oh
And
wow.
I don't think they actually I don't think he was even her brother-in-law. No, he wasn't even her brother-in-law yet. He was my sister-in-law's partner, and he's just a great musician. He first, he's most known for being the guitar player and musical director for the Broadway musical Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And has a lot of experience in that, but he's a great producer, and he's been in a lot of Americana and indie bands, and he's worked with done a lot of great stuff, and he brings yeah, I think what's so cool about working with him as a producer is so I met him while he was touring the country with Hedwig, and he was home for a few days, and I met him, and then eventually it led to, hey, would you want to consider producing us? We sent him our music, he really liked it, and we've just been working with him ever since the EP, and it's just as we're growing as songwriters, he's growing as our producer, and I just feel like every time we all make music together, it's cooler and better than the last song. And we're writing a lot right now, so I think we're gonna go record it. We're gonna go record a bunch of music in 2023, and I'm excited to hear what he does with it. But it's cool because he comes from that rock thing and the Americana thing, but he has other influences that we don't have. So I think he brings a different element to the production that a lot of other modern rock bands don't have.
It's really cool, and because like the aesthetic of your music is, it has like that very warm 70s kind of vibrance to it. That's
Yeah.
what I noticed. Like everything from the riffs to just the way your vocals like blend in with the blend. It's like it's really prominent, and
You are what you eat, man.
it also matches yeah, it also matches with the album art. And I was wondering how did the album art like kind of complement that?
My partner Maris, she makes it all, and I would love to give us credit and say we have a huge input in what we tell her to make for us, but it's just not true. We show her the song and we kind of let her do her thing over it. We let her see what she sees in the music, and she'll just make album art and videos that are what the colors in the world she sees when she listens to our music.
That's awesome,
You know,
man.
when Taylor met Maris, I really felt like the vibe that she was putting out there was kind of the aesthetic that uh I don't want to say that I had completely in mind because it's her, she made it, but like it was the one, it was like, yes, this is like very much like what I would like our aesthetic to kind
Was
of look
there
like.
any discussion, active discussion, or was it kind of
Not
coincidental
really.
more?
We kind of like gave her pretty free reign right from the beginning because
I'll say this though, we all agreed on that. I'm not trying to throw shade at any modern rock bands or anything when I say this stuff, but I feel like rock has just gotten this very overly serious demeanor these
Yeah,
days.
squelchy and
It's
like
very, what's that term, butt rock or something like that.
but right,
Like,
yeah.
it's very, and
Butt
it's
rock.
very like everyone's got to look like a biker or a pirate. They're all in black, and you can't smile in your pictures.
And
And
plus
it's
you
like,
can't
hey,
even hear the guitars and
and and
like
as
you have
much
to
as
be a musician and a badass.
yeah, it's like, and it's
Like
like
Mozart.
oh
that's just
god.
us. That's just not the type of people we are.
Yeah, no.
We're very intense about what we do. We love what we do, but I'm not a I smile. I'm always resting with a smile. We realized we didn't want everything to be black, and we didn't want it to be
We
this.
like colors, man. We like bright guitars.
Yeah,
And
we like
you
vi-
know,
we so we all we she was very in line with us aesthetically. It's not like if she wasn't the right artist for us, just because we're together, I don't think it would be we would be working with her. It's we all, I think, just naturally saw eye to eye and like what we imagined this to look like.
yeah.
And because we knew that she got what we were going for, we kind of just Like you express yourself with our music.
Mhm.
Yeah, we felt very serendipitous. It didn't really feel like there needed to be much of a conversation. We just kind of like,
Yeah, you know, every now and then if she has an idea we don't like, we'll say it, but it's like she gets it. We like vibrant colors. We like just we want a fun we want like a fun positive aesthetic.
So, as far as like this album, it's a for the most part, it's a collection of the singles that you've released over the
Yes.
years. Now,
if it was a
how
better
did you?
name,
Yeah.
if it was a better name, it would have been like the pandemic era. You know?
No,
Yeah, if it was.
yeah, exactly. It's
So,
these
how did you decide for like the structure of the songs, like which track goes before which one, and how they all like sync together cohesively?
you know what? A lot of these songs were written in groups, and
Mhm.
I think if we lived in a different era, it would have been an album anyway. Besides Trust Some, like this would have been an album. This probably would have been a debut album. And singles are just a much more economically friendly for an independent band to do. And it's just, you know, with this era of Spotify and social media, you have to post like crazy, so you get more mileage a lot of the times, at least for a while. And I think it felt like an album, and it felt like an era. And I think you know, Jordan and I are writing a lot of new music, and it feels like we're entering in a new era. So I think it's just that we're departing to the next thing. So let's celebrate this. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So this all together, these singles that you put together, that's going to be this album, and then you totally have another album in the works already.
Oh yeah.
I would say we're at the point where it's an EP, but I think we're gonna write an album's worth of music. But I
Yeah.
think that
Everything that we're writing right now feels very cohesive, and it wants to be, you know. But we're gonna see what our options are, you know.
yeah, it's yeah. I'm sorry, you go ahead, Jordan, if you
No,
were.
that was it. That was
No,
it.
it's like yeah, I think in early 2023 we're gonna go in the studio and record a bunch of songs, and we're gonna shop it. We're gonna try to shop it around and see if there's a label that would be interested in putting that out, and see where if that's the case, we'll see take it from there. If it's not, we'll decide what's the best way to put this out independently. Do EPs, do singles. You know, I think we're just trying to figure out like what's the next step, because we've been doing the single thing for a while, which I love it, but I would love to put out a group of music together, like an EP or an album, if
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The
So,
idea.
so with this collection of singles and going into the album that you're recording now, or the EP, or just the new material in general, do you feel like you've listened to a lot of music to the same extent that you've created music?
No, I don't think so.
I
So
think we
it's more like the creation process took precedent
Well,
over.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like I go through kind of like phases where I listen to a ton of music, but I
Mhm.
also am like, I heard Eddie Van Halen was also like this. Like he liked driving in silence. Sometimes I like that too. Sometimes I feel like, you know, sometimes if I feel like if I'm just listening to music all the time, it shuts off that organic experience of you creating music while you're like, because like sometimes I've written songs not just like while I'm playing my bass or something. A lot of the times I'm just like out, I'm driving, I'm humming something to myself. And if you don't, and for me personally, if I don't sometimes give myself enough, like if I don't turn off the noise, sometimes there's not going to be inspiration. I won't hear I won't hear anything, you know? So it's hard to say. I think it's probably the same level that we were listening to Evie. We're always getting into new things, always rediscovering something we love. But to answer your question, I don't think that but I don't know if I'd say that there's like an equal amount of listening to go with the writing. I don't know. What do you think, Taylor?
I don't know. It's
I
kind of
mean, some people are like that though. Like some people, like some music, and I don't think there's a right way. Like some musicians religiously swear that you always have to have something that you're listening to. Everywhere you go, you're listening to something. I'm kind of hot and cold.
I'm hot and cold too. Like right now, I think I've been really into Prince and Gary Wright for a while now, and a little bit. I would say I'm probably in a phase right now where I'm doing more playing than I am listening, and it just comes in waves. it just, you know, it's like anyone else. You know, I try to have the relationship of a listener, like if I'm not a musician, like I just listen for fun. And but I do think that, you know, there was a point, like some of this new music that we're writing, there's a new one that we're writing. I was really into, I remember being really into Wings at the time, so I think that did inspire me a little bit for some of the new songs we're writing. I was really into like 80s Yes.
Yeah, and I agree with both of you guys. You kind of do need that space or that breathing room
Yeah.
to sort of to like kind of revitalize your creativity, because if
Yeah.
you're not offered that space and you're constantly hearing shit over and over, it kind of feels like kind of congested.
Yeah, it create I find that sometimes if I'm getting really too addicted to having music every time I walk somewhere, or even a podcast, if you're not like just like in like, I know it sounds so fucking cheesy, but if you're not like letting yourself be in the freaking moment, you're not letting there be some silence for your brain to create something. At least for me, you know, like
No,
everybody's different.
I
I'm
agree
not
with
going
that
to say that
100.
there's a perfect method, you know?
I agree with that completely. I've noticed I'm so constantly, and I think a lot of people are constantly looking for stimulation, to listen to something, to listen to something, watch something while they're on the subway, while they're like walking somewhere. And I do think you got to let yourself have those moments of quiet, of silence, so you can be creative instead of listening to someone else's creativity.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember Professor Serrano? One time
Yeah.
she went on this like big rant that maybe it wasn't even a giant rant, maybe it just stuck with me in a big way. She went on this whole thing about how like once upon a time, if you wanted to listen to music, you had to play it yourself.
Once
And
upon a time, if you had to listen to
but you
music,
probably also had to
you
be
did it
rich.
yourself.
Yeah,
That's what she sounded like.
you probably had to be rich, which she didn't say, but like still, there is something to the spirit of that where, you know, where it's like I try, you know, I still do it, but like I don't like to. I try the best I can to remember not to treat music as like background noise.
Yeah.
The activity in
Because you're
itself.
such an active listener and you're such a fan of music and you're
Yeah.
passionate about
But
music.
we all do that. Like we
Yeah.
all just have some, but like, you know, it's still important to like really listen. Listening is the activity, you know, not like having, and I definitely have music on while I'm playing my fucking video games or some shit. Like, be frank, my favorite thing to do, main reason I bought the Fuck It bass
Yeah.
is just to, my
Fuck
favorite
around
thing.
with it.
Well, you take a weed edible, you play some scales, and you put on some Star Trek, and you know, so there's the like you have something you do while you're, but like I try my best to set aside time every week that I'm just listening to music,
That's
and
really cool.
avoid those times where I'm just treating it like background noise, because those moments where you have music and the urge to have it as background noise, you might write your best fucking song. You out of just like, I'm on the train, I've got nothing to do, there's people here, I'm looking at nothing. Okay, I could put on something and entertain myself, but if you just let yourself be in that, you might come up with something cool, man. That's, you know, you might, some, at least for me, you know.
You know, it's an early New Year's resolution for me. Less phone.
I also find that when I'm not doing that enough, I'm not writing as much. The times that I have bad writer's block are a combination of two things. I'm listening to things too much as I'm doing everything. And number two, I'm not forcing myself to write a riff every day. Because that's another thing.
thing.
Inspiration is bullshit.
Yeah.
Inspiration is not real. You're lazy. Go write a riff every day, even if it's bad.
We mostly write bad riffs.
Heavily derivative.
Inspiration is lazy.
So like you mentioned a really good point too about writer's block. Do you have instances of that even
when I'm treating music too in podcasts as background noise to my life too much, and when I'm not forcing myself to, and when I don't force myself out of it I practice a key every day. I try to practice a key every day and go through my scales in that key every day, just as like a warm up or just.
Jordan's a big. I'm a world class noodler. Jordan is. I just noodle all the time.
I have my inner Jean Mayung, despite the outward the outward frontman can't shut up exterior.
Jordan is a constant practicer. Every time Jordan calls me, because we talk and like we besides seeing each other, we also call each other for 2 minutes at a time, 20 times a day, and
we're trying to learn to text each other more.
And I just hear boom, what are you doing? Boom, but
the thing I try to do is you practice that key every day. You go through your scales just to keep your hands fresh, just to keep everything good. And then you force yourself to write a riff in the key you've been practicing. And it's probably going to be bad, but you wrote it. And I think, and I'm still a believer that you got to write like 99 riffs to write one good one.
Yeah, I'll say this. Yeah, I've definitely had writer's block. You know, like when Omicron was a thing, it was like I was definitely not feeling so inspired, and because our Euro tour got postponed to now. We were supposed to play our biggest show at the local show at the Bowery Ballroom, and you know, I'm one of those people. Like, there's people that get real sad and they'll write songs, and I'm one of those people when I'm in a really bad place, like I'm not happy about things, I don't feel creative. If I write anything sad, happy, negative in the middle, it's usually when I'm feeling good.
So like after those like non-inspiring moments, like, so how did you eventually like break from that and like get into the groove again?
Therapy helps a lot with my anxiety.
All right.
No, seriously, you know, it's like you just have to persevere and keep going and understand you're in a rough patch and just keep going and you'll get out of it. I am an optimist to my core. I never, even when I'm feeling negative and bad about things, I never ever think to myself, this is how it's going to be forever. I always know this will pass. And I've never, every time I felt just bad, I'm like, this is not how it's going to get better.
Yeah.
And that's what always ends up happening. And, but I agree. And it's like, I'm always writing ideas. I'm always making ideas. And the worst that happens is when I don't feel like it's been a while since I've written a good idea. But you just got to keep going. And you just got to like chug along. It's really...
I feel like the way we got past it was like, and I do think that there is a total fair thing to feeling a little uninspired when you're like never leaving your house, you're never doing anything, which is what the lockdown did. But I still stick to dig deep, man. If you're lucky enough, like we like, the way we got out of it is that we just forced ourselves to write and write and write and write and write. And
a lot of those songs, we were in bad places. Like we were scared, the pandemic, we were terrified, and we weren't seeing each other. We were still seeing each other, but we were only going over like a few times a week instead of like almost every day. And you know, it was a scary time, and I really do think the music did save us. It really
you gotta go into it, even if it's like you just gotta force yourself like through it, like to play. And there doesn't have to be an expectation that you're going to write something good. In fact, you probably won't. Like I'm a big believer in numbers, man. Like you got to write a lot of things to write something good. Like at least for us personally, some people can shit gold, but we can't.
I would say 1 in 10. Like I'd say out of every 10 song idea, you hear the 1 in 10 out of all those songs. Like you gotta, you know, that's why I'm like, people are like, oh, like, you know, when an artist passes away or something, people are like, oh, they have all this unreleased material. We're gonna put it out. It's like, they didn't want it out for a reason. You know, because it didn't pass the sniff test. It wasn't good enough. That's why they didn't put it out.
I'm sure some of it. I don't
yeah,
know.
some of it they can be wrong about it being bad.
I don't know, man. If I didn't have you and Justin there, I would probably still be tracking vocals for the
No, you're a perfectionist. I get there's songs we've done that you didn't quite see it that I did, and vice versa. But there's a lot like people like Prince has a vault of music he never put out. It's like there's probably a reason why he didn't put it out.
Yeah.
Or Van Halen, like even his son's like, why do you, he released all the good stuff. Why do you want to hear the 2 or
Did
3
Wolfgang
songs?
really come out and say
Yeah,
that?
it's like, why do you want to hear the 2 or 3 songs from that album recording period that they decided not to? They didn't put it out because they didn't think it was
Bro,
good enough.
I'm not gonna lie. I did such a 180 on Wolfgang Van Halen. I really fucking when I was a kid, I was so fucking jealous of him. Like, because I was like also a Van Halen. Why does he get to be in Van Halen? Just because, like, and he's such a fucking great musician, and he's so cool, man. Like, he's always got these like great takes that are just like so to the point and cut through the bullshit. And then like on top of that, and he just seems so humble. And then on top of that, like,
So I guess he kind of keeps you going. Like you think back to like, oh yeah.
well, I don't know.
And I'm like,
I'm just thinking about him. It's just like
yeah.
that dude's awesome, man. He's such a great. He's so awesome. He's such a like an amazingly talented guy. And like,
Yeah.
and I see people like try to troll, and he's just like cuts right. He's he's cool.
Yeah,
that's
but
good.
it's like it's like that point. It's like, we make sure that, and I think we have a good. We're really, we try to, like, we try not to put out we don't try to just put out songs for the sake. We really try to focus on quality control. If something's not good enough, we don't put it out. We really try to, and obviously we sometimes don't live up to that, but we really try to focus on quality control.
Hey, where did we not live up to that, Taylor?
No comment.
That's good. That's good, you guys. And then putting it all together in summation, with this album and with the album you're creating, and just in general, what have you guys, both of you, learned about yourselves, both as musicians and as people?
Ooh.
That's the wrap-up question.
God damn! What have I learned about?
Well,
I've learned right now that I'm clearly not introspective enough.
In the last 6 months, I've really, in the last this like, with Omicron and COVID, it's been a crazy time, and I'm a pretty anxious person, so I went to therapy, started going to therapy this summer. I'm really trying to learn to be moment to moment, not think so much into the future. And I think this whole writing music and trying to be a band during this tough time, I need to work on just being a more patient person with myself and the people around me. And my anxiety, and I would say that I've learned a lot about, I need to work on my anxiety, which I have been, luckily.
I learned that I cannot live on a desert island alone like I always thought I could. I learned that was a fantasy that I was clearly incredibly wrong about. I learned what he said, and I also learned throughout this whole thing, honestly, the things that I've been ranting about. I think, and for me personally, I'm not saying everybody, for me personally, I've taken the attitude that inspiration is bullshit. That you gotta power through. You gotta keep at it every day. You can't wait for life to give you a sign. You gotta go. You gotta do it. You gotta try your best to make and there comes a certain amount of privilege with that. I was lucky. I was able to stay afloat during the pandemic, but I guess that's the ultimate thing I learned. You can't wait for these moments where you feel good that day, or the weather is just correct, or like you got to dig deep, and you got to try to do it every day. You got to flex, you got to work that muscle.
Now, as a musician, what I've learned,
you meant as a I guess it's I kind of felt like that's for both.
Yeah.
Like I feel like most things I've learned as there's crossover there.
Also, when you release a lot of music and you write a lot of songs and you record them and then you start playing them a lot, you learn as a singer, you learn like, hey, maybe I shouldn't sing this high all the time. That's about it,
Oh, I learned that lesson too.
Like learn like where your sweet spot is as a singer, not just as in tone and where you're comfortable. I think we've gotten a lot better. You hear our first EP, we're singing super high all the time. We still sing pretty high. We still sing really high, but you don't want to sing like that for 2 hours a night. That's a hard job.
Yeah. Don't be a superhero. Just
don't try to be Chris Cornell.
You're playing music, not doing snaps. We're playing music, not doing gymnastics or.
I don't mind stealing bread.
From mouths to
I don't mind stealing bread.
Wow, that's a really good wrap up, guys. Thank you.
Wait, how long? Wait, were we on here for really almost an hour?
Oh shit, man. Yeah.